video, another episode of Why We Bitcoin. So, in the first episode, we went through the actual problem, which is money printing, more inflation, loss of purchasing power. So, staying poor, actually. Even though you work, even though you save, you stay poor because your money gets inflated. So, because it's a fiat currency, right? You remember last video? If you don't remember, go check it out, watch it again, and come back here. So, fiat currencies are currencies that are not backed by anything other than debt. So promises, right? So because of that, they don't, and other or a bunch of other factors, currencies don't have the same value, right? Like you may think $1 is always the same, €1 is always the same, one whatever, it's always the same value, but it's not, especially compared one to another, because you will soon find out that everything is a pair. Everything is a pair, right? Like PAIR. Everything is a pair. Like a dollar, it's worth 0.9 something euro, right? It's a pair. You are measuring the dollar in euro, or the other way around. €1 it's worth $1.12, right? Or an Indian rupee. You could say, oh, one Indian rupee is one Indian rupee. Yeah, but one Indian rupee it's 95 or whatever, 100 USD. Or sorry, the other way around. One USD is 100 Indian rupees. And this value oscillates. So you might think like we are all always the same purchasing value one against each other. But actually, these pairs oscillate a lot. Let's check it out for ourselves. Um, Great Britain pound. Let's check the UK pound versus the sterling versus the dollar. Excuse me, this is in Italian. I hope you can understand anyway. So, as you can see, if you look at the charts in the last 50 years, so since the gold standard was abandoned and fiat currencies became such, they became fiat. Since then, the pound has lost roughly, what's that? It's a 44% of their value, of its value against the dollar, right? Like this. So you lost, if you held pounds, you lost 44% of your power against the dollar. This is huge. Now let's go. Let's see. Is this an isolated case, or is this the case for all currencies? Let's just go check it out. Indian rupee. Oh, that's ugly. You can see Indian rupees since in the last 18 years has lost 52%. 52% against the dollar. 52%. So if you are an Indian and you keep your money, let's say you earn $10,000 here, and you keep them in Indian rupees, now it's worth less than half. Less than half in USD. Vice versa, if you held the dollar instead of the rupee, now you have double the amount of rupees. This is quite big. Let's check out other currencies. I remember a billion people plus live in India. A billion people are getting totally wrecked. They're losing all their power against the dollar. Now again, same thing happening in the UK. A little less drastic, but still. Let's check the Brazilian real. Okay, the currencies of Brazil. You can see that a little bit of a bull market here from 2003 to 2010. So that was good for Brazil, actually. They doubled their value against the dollar. But then also, they lost in the last 15 years, not even. They lost 71% of their value against the dollar. That's huge. Huge. 71%. Okay? Huge. Now, let's check out Swedish krona. So in Sweden, again, let's see, from the peak, 40% down. Danish krone. And by the way, the Danish krone is one of the strongest, right? Like you're talking about one of the richest country on earth, one of the richest country on earth, and still, it's the trajectory is down, right? Like even just in the last 10 years, it's down 20% roughly. Okay. So it's holding up pretty good because Danish economics, it's good, let's say, at least comparatively to other economies like developing countries, etc. They are pretty rich. They have a lot of natural resources and so on and so forth. They are very efficient people. But still, yet they are 20% down against the dollar. That's quite massive. Um, let's check out this we did already. The ruble against the dollar. It's bleeding, right? Let's check out the Japanese. Oh, well, Japanese are not doing so well. Last 14 years, down 47%. Let's check out the whole thing. Again, you can see it's not always down, but eventually it's either down or flat, like you see. Since the peak, this thing is down a lot. Okay, since the peak, this is down almost 50%. Indonesian rupee, oh, that's ugly, right? Indonesian rupee is down 60% in 25 years. Nigerian, and you could say, I don't give a F about Nigeria, Naira, however you say that, right? Like you could say, I don't care about Nigeria, Brazil, or whatever. But you have to care if you want to make money. And people come to me and say, "Oh, teach me how to make money." I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you right now. You have to understand things before to actually go around and buy and sell and invest and do this and do that. You have to understand how the world works, right? First episode, there's money printing, and that's bad. This episode, it's gonna make you understand that there's always oscillation um, between pairs, right? Between currencies, between companies, between nations. There's always a changing oscillation, right? Value flows into the dollar and then into the dollar back from into other currencies and so on and so forth. And you have to understand which one is the best currency, which one is the strongest, right? And why is it so? And why are the Indians poor? Why are the Brazilians poor? Why are the Nigerian poor? Right? Why is the Nigerian economy? Why is Nigeria, even though its demographic situation is way better than Western countries, probably even productivity is better, GDP is better, everything is better if you look at some metrics like the one I just said. Yet they are not getting richer than us, not at all. And why is that? This is the why. This is the why. Because Nigerian people are sort of obliged to keep their money in the Nigerian naira. Because let's talk about it. Like you could like Bitcoin, you could like the dollar, and let's say you are in one of these poor countries. You want maybe to save in dollars, you want to save in Bitcoin, and you can and you should to do that. But yet, you still have to pay for grocery, pay for transport, taxes, rent, whatever you have to pay in the local currency, right? 99% of the time, you cannot go to the grocery store in Nigeria and say, "Do you accept the Swiss franc, or do you accept the dollar?" Maybe in Nigeria they're gonna say, "Yeah, we accept the dollar," but most of all, no. Like, try go to China and pay with dollars. Try go to Indonesia and pay with dollars. Like, you cannot do that. So these people, the Nigerian people, poor them, they actually are sort of obliged to keep their money, their value and time in the Nigerian naira. a fiat currency. And look at what happened. Man, this is sad. This is just the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, it lost 90, not 19, 90% of its value against the dollar, right? So you have to understand, this is how the USA stays the number one country in the world. Because even though they print a lot, they debase their currency, so are doing all the other nations. And actually even more, all right? I mean, look at this. This is not fault of the United States, right? Like this is fault of the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government printed so much money that it debased its value against the dollar of 90%. And I mean, you gotta keep in your mind that in the last 10 years, the US printed a ton of money. All right. Most of the money that is in circulation now has been printed in the last 10 years. So you have to understand that the US in this time frame printed a lot of money. So for you, the Nigerian government, Nigerian central bank, to lose all this value against the dollar, it means that you printed a lot. And that means you have a corrupt country. Even though I don't know if it's a corrupt central bank, corrupt government, corrupt whatever, but the people here are taking advantage of the power they have over the money printer. Okay, they are printing all they can, and the regular citizens are getting fucked, right? In the ass, right? They are getting screwed. The regular people are getting screwed. Thanks for this. Thanks to this. Let's go on and check out other currencies. So Norwegian krone. So the Norwegian krone, it should be quite powerful because actually Norway, again, it's a very rich, resource-rich country, very efficient people, advanced, technologically advanced and everything. Yet in the last 17 years, they lost 50% of their value against the dollar, right? Half of their value in less than 20 years has been lost. Okay. So that's bad. And by the way, this is value loss against the dollar. So when you're losing 50% of your value against the dollar, and the dollar it's doing something like this, right? Because the dollar is doing something like this, and you are losing purchasing power against this, we have a problem, all right? You're getting poor, but you're still pricing it in dollars. So in dollar, you have less dollar, and the dollar is going lower. So that's a big problem. You see what I'm talking about? Check out China. China. Let's check out China. Chinese yuan over the US dollar. Again, same story, right? In the last 12 years, it's down 16%. It's not that bad, actually, honestly. And they definitely had a big rally in the financial crisis years. But again, same trajectory. It's to the downside. The downside. Chinese people are losing money also. Canadian dollar, same thing. Canadian dollar from the highs, it's down 34%. Okay, in 20 years. We can go on and on. Australian dollar, sort of the same thing. 40% down in 15 years. Right? So it's an ugly situation. It's an ugly situation. Let's check out the last few. So just for comparison, we still haven't seen the euro. Yeah, so euro, even though I mean you could pop up the chart and say, oh look, the euro was a good idea. Nobody had the euro in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't know where they picked this chart from, but the euro was introduced like as a mainstream currency, the euro was only introduced here. Here, okay? Here it's when it was introduced in Italy, and sort of here it's when it actually gained mainstream use, right? Nobody was using it here. Nobody even know it existed back here. So let's just take this as the lifetime of the euro because it's more um, it's more truthful, let's say. So again, you could actually say that, for Italians, since Italy as a country adopted the euro, which is exactly here, we are actually up 30% to the dollar. Yet, you can still see the trajectory. It's down, right? We touched the peak and now we have like this big resistance and it's down. Maybe we are just breaking the resistance right now. You see, we are breaking the trend, but yet it's down, right? It's not like the euro is saving us, right? Still, oh shit. Still the euro, it's down since 2008. It's not 30%, right? So, there are just a few strong currencies. One, of course, is the dollar, as you can see, because if everything against the dollar is going down, it means the dollar is always going up against the others. Right? Just switch the pair. Uh, Instead of measuring the Indian rupee in dollars, you measure the dollars in Indian rupees, and you would see that the dollar is always going up and up and up and up and up, comparatively to the other fiat currencies. And you might say, like, this is totally fucked up because we are talking about this. Yeah, remember, we're talking about this, talking about this, right? If all currencies are getting worse than this, oh shit. I mean, you understand why people are staying poor. You understand why there's always just a few people in power and the rest of the people struggle to not even get rich, to stay wealthy. Right? If your grandfather was a billionaire, there's a big chance you're not a billionaire. Your grandfather was, maybe your father was a millionaire and now you're nothing because your money got debased over and over and over again. So, yeah, the dollar is the strongest currency and yet it's going down a lot. So we're not in a good place. That's why we need Bitcoin. So let's check out a few uh, exception. So this is one exception, right? This is one exception. The the Swiss franc measured in dollars, it's up. It's up a lot actually. You can see since 2000, it's up 100 freaking percent, man. And I mean, this is only because they didn't print as much money as the US did, right? They didn't print as much money as the US did, so they didn't devalue their currency as much. And they manage the country in other ways that the US does. Okay, let's just keep it like that, and it's a topic for itself. I don't want to go into this tangent, but you can understand there are some outliers, right? All currencies are bad, or fiat currency lose value. On top of all these fiat currencies, you have the US, the Swiss franc, and then maybe the Singapore dollar, and so on and so forth. But keep in mind, yes, the Swiss franc gained 100% of the dollar over the dollar in the last 25 years. But the Swiss franc, it's not the world reserve currency. It's the US dollar, right? So I'll go back to that. Like in other words, you don't really care if the Swiss franc goes up in value unless you live in Switzerland or or you're trading currencies. You don't care, right? Like the key takeaway here is everything is going down compared to dollars. See? Everything is going down compared to dollars. You see, I just showed it. Singapore dollar, again, it's another little exception, but still, it is what it is. So, all of this is to make you understand that you need to buy Bitcoin. If you are an Indian and you're keeping your money in Indian rupees, you are losing against the dollar. If you are Brazilian and you are keeping your money in a Brazilian real, you are losing against the dollar. And so on and so forth. And if you're in China, if you're in Russia, if you're in Europe, if you are in whatever, in Nigeria, as we saw, in Indonesia, if you are everywhere, you're losing, except the USA, and you're keeping your money not in US dollar, you're losing money against the US dollar. So you might say, oh, well, I have to stay in US dollar. Or you can buy Bitcoin because as we can see, okay, these are all currencies, right? Everything is going down against the dollar. Everything is going down against the dollar, except maybe a little bit the Swiss franc. You might say, okay, everything is going down against the dollar. I'm gonna stay in the Swiss franc, right? I'm gonna make 100% gain in 25 years. or or you can opt out, right? You can just get the hell out of the of fiat currency and get into this. Try get into this, you know? Try get into this, right? Sorry, the chart is a bit messy, but just give it a sec. Okay, you can see this is Bitcoin. I mean, this is not even the full history of Bitcoin, right? You can see since 21 to 21, since 2020, in 5 years. I mean, it's ridiculous even just to read. It's almost 1,000% gain. 10x, actually 11x, right? It it it's a 10x only the last 5 years. Like right, like the best option in fiat currency is the Swiss franc. Over time, the best option among fiat currency has been the Swiss franc, right? If you pick from bottom to top, you got a 120% gain in 25 years, right? You had to wait 25 years to double your money over dollars. Uh, or you can choose Bitcoin, right? You can choose Bitcoin. You can choose Bitcoin and have this. Only 5 years. Only 5 years to make a 10x in dollar terms. Or actually, it's even more. Yeah, it's way more. I don't know why, but yeah, it's way more actually. You can see 15,000%. No, sorry, 1,500% gain. That's ridiculous. And that's not even the full story, you know? That's ridiculous. And you might say, oh, but, I like the stock market. Let's look at the stock market, bro. Okay. Let's look at stock market. In the last 5 years, Bitcoin did a 1,500% gain. So let's check it out in the same time frame. It's 130%. 130% against this. I mean, you see, there is a zero plus. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even hold the comparison. It doesn't. Okay? Bye Bitcoin. See you in the next video.